What's up everyone, it's Alex. Viewer question time again, let's do it. Today's question is from Michael. Michael says, not sure if you remember my comment for your opinion on the Yamaha Bolt, but could you do one on the Indian Scout or Scout 60? First off, Michael, if I missed your comment on the Bolt, I apologize. If I got your comment on the Bolt and did a video, then cool, but if I missed it, I'm sorry. I get a lot of them, and sometimes I miss them, sometimes I don't. So, let's talk about the Indian Scout for a minute, and I'm also going to compare it to a couple of things. I'll compare it to buying a Bolt and a couple of other things real quick. Indian Scout and or Indian Scout 60. These motorcycles are Indian's attempt to make a smaller, less expensive, more entry-level way to get into the Indian motorcycle company, Indian motorcycle experience. In its modern form, you know, ever since Polaris bought the Indian name and re-released Indian motorcycles under the Polaris banner. For those of you who don't know, Polaris owns Indian motorcycles. They also owned Victory before it got discontinued, and we will get to that in a moment. So the Scout/Scout 60 series, just in general, I'm not going to get super in-depth on specs and all that, but just as a generalization, the Scout is the entry-level way to get into an Indian motorcycle for less money than, you know, Chieftain, anything bigger like that. They're a series of much smaller, much lighter bikes in the Indian lineup. They have a decently peppy V-twin motor on them. They are smaller and lighter than their bigger Indian cousins, hence they handle better. They're a nice, small, zippy, kind of a little bit more sporty way to get into Indian motorcycles. They basically were created as the entry level to Indian and the answer to the Harley Sportster, etc., things like that. They have a lot in common with the Victory Octane. The first iteration of Indian Scout was very, very similar to the Victory Octane. I mean, they were, if you look at the two bikes, they were almost the same thing with just some style differences and everything like that. And I actually really, really like Victory Octanes. When they were brand new, I rode several of them. I really, really liked them, actually. They were a little small. For a lot of people, they're going to be a little bit cramped the way they sit, but I thought that there was a really, really nice peppy 1200cc motor. Really, really nice handling for what it was and for the package. And I think the Indian Scout basically hits those same marks. I think for its size and everything, the Indian Scout feels nice and peppy. It feels nice and light. It handles remarkably well for the style of motorcycle and everything that it is. So I think it's a really good entry into the smaller, lighter, entry-level, more zippy, kind of sportier way to get into an Indian. It also lends really, really well to more of like the urban rider thing. You know, kind of like a nice, light, retro, it's zippy, and you know, it's really good for around town. In terms of handling, performance, and styling, I think that an Indian Scout blows away something like a Yamaha Bolt or a Harley Sportster and the other bikes that it's meant to compete with, because it is meant to compete with Sportsters, Yamaha Bolts, that kind of motorcycle. That's the vein that it's in. I think in terms of handling, performance, and styling, it pretty much blows all of those away. The Bolt handles as good, so maybe it doesn't blow the Bolt away in terms of handling, but it definitely blows a Bolt away in terms of overall performance and styling, objectively speaking. And it way outperforms a Sportster in basically everywhere there is. Harley fans out there, I'm sorry, but it's just the God's honest truth. An Indian Scout is going to blow a Sportster away in terms of power, performance, handling, all of those things. The styling, that's a little bit more subjective. If you just love the Harley look, maybe the styling doesn't blow you away, but I think the Scout looks a lot better than a Sportster does. Where the Scout is going to fall short for most of you that are looking at that versus a Bolt or a Sportster or an Octane is the Scout's generally going to cost you more money. You can usually, if you're talking new to new, you know, a new Bolt is going to cost you less money than a brand new Scout. Not so much the Sportster. Sportsters are kind of expensive now, so you can get a Scout for less than a Sportster usually, but for the most part, a brand new Bolt is going to cost you less than a Scout. And if you're talking used to used, since the Scout hasn't been out as long, a used Yamaha Bolt or a used Harley Sportster of almost any variety that's a few years old is going to cost you less than a Scout is going to. Even better than that, if you can get your hands on a Victory Octane, you are usually going to spend half as much money on a Victory Octane. And even though it was only like a one-year motorcycle, the Victory Octane is a fantastic little package for what it is. And I think if you can find a Victory Octane for half as much money as a Scout, your money would be much better spent just getting the Victory Octane instead, because they're going to make parts for that for quite some time. And it's a very solid little design to begin with. I don't think you're going to have any problems with it. So kind of to sum up just in general terms, I think the Scout/Scout 60 series, great motorcycle from Indian for getting people into the Indian ecosystem, for an entry-level bike into Indian. Nice, zippy, peppy little bike, good handling for what it is, and a good price point for what you're getting for the quality involved in Indian motorcycles. But if you're looking for used motorcycles, I do think you will get a Yamaha Bolt, Harley Sportster, or bonus points, Victory Octane for less expensive than you will an Indian Scout. And all of those motorcycles will still fulfill that kind of a thing. So if you just like the styling better, or you find a really good deal on one, great. Pick up an Indian Scout. I like them. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. If you can get a better deal, though, on a Bolt or an Octane especially, why not? You might as well, especially the Octane. It's almost the same thing, except it was Victory. It was only made for like a year, and you're going to get them cheaper. So I hope that helps. I hope that answers the question on the Indian Scout. Michael, if you wanted my opinions in a different way on it, or there's something very specific that you want to know my opinion on it, go ahead and ask me. But hopefully that kind of answers. I think that's what you were asking, was the Scout versus the Bolt, etc. So more power, better styling probably than a Bolt, but you're going to spend considerably more money on it, so you need to like it enough more to justify the extra money you're going to spend on it. But overall, I like the Scout series. I think they're really cool. I really liked the Octane when they were around, so can't go wrong with it. It's a really nice motorcycle. It's a fantastic motorcycle, but you know, you will get the other ones cheaper if you can find them. Hope that helped. I'm Alex. Peace.